Welcome to First Sleep Aid, calm stories to help you unwind, learn, and fall asleep. From true crime to curious facts and thoughtful ideas, always softly spoken. Subscribe now and take a deep breath. You're in good hands.
Okay, picture this. Vienna, 1983. You're in this grand concert hall, totally silent, just the spotlight on the piano. And the pianist, she's poised, eyes closed, her hands lift. Everyone holds their breath.
Yeah.
Then the first notes hit.
Yeah.
But then something else happens. It's like she disappears. Not physically, but her conscious self.
Right, the sense of I am playing.
Exactly. It just melts into the music. Her fingers are moving like they know the way on their own, beyond just memory.
Almost automatic.
Yeah, and the audience, the hall, it all just fades into this background hum. Time gets weird, loses its shape.
That feeling of time warping, yeah.
And later, she apparently couldn't really recall the performance clearly, like she was just a channel.
Vessel, yeah. That's a common description.
Her body just became the music. Then the final chord fades. Huge applause, but she's kind of disoriented, like, what just happened?
That's such a perfect description. It really captures something fundamental, doesn't it? A state we've probably all brushed up against. Maybe you call it being in the zone if you're an athlete.
Right.
Or artists talk about the muse. Gamers know that tunnel vision feeling. And some spiritual traditions might even call it, ecstasy. But scientifically, we call it flow.
Flow, okay.
Yeah, it's that state where what you're doing and your awareness of doing it just merge. Time bends, your sense of self fades back.
And it feels effortless, even if it's hard work.
Effortless mastery, exactly. That's the paradox.
So that's what we're diving into today. What is flow, really? Is it just like luck, a brain glitch?
Or maybe a skill you can develop.
Yeah, or something almost sacred, or is it just brain chemistry?
Well, that's the journey, right? We're
Right.
going to track this idea across centuries, different fields.
From ancient rituals all the way to what? Modern neuroscience.
Exactly. And look at all sorts of people, mountain climbers, monks, you name it, different perspectives too, cognitive theory, even corporate strategy, believe it or not.
Okay. And we really want to get into what's happening inside our heads, right? When time seems to just stop.
Or stretch out, yeah. And why we crave that deep focus so much, especially now in our, super distracted world.
That's a big one. We're all feeling that pull, that fragmentation.
Definitely. But we also need to ask, what happens when we try to, package this, put a price tag on this very human thing? Is there a cost?
Right. Good question. So our approach here is really to listen. Listen to the science, listen to the stories.
And maybe even listen to that quiet place inside, that deep attention itself.
Because flow feels like more than just a peak moment, doesn't it? Like that pianist, maybe it's the last place our undivided self can actually, be.
That's a powerful thought. And, long before we had the word flow, the experience itself was absolutely there.
People felt it. They knew it.
Maybe they didn't have a single name for it, but philosophers, thinkers, they started describing its structure centuries ago, way before brain scans.
So thinking back to that pianist again, that total immersion.
Where your self-awareness just recedes, not because you're zoned out, but because you're so present.
The inner chatter stops. The self-criticism.
Gone, vanished. And that split we usually feel between me doing the thing and the thing itself, that dissolves too.
It's just
Right.
happening. Seamless. Like the body just knows.
Precisely. It's like the body has its own intelligence, moving before conscious thought even catches up.
So who started trying to pin this down? Philosophically, I mean.
Well, around the turn of the 20th century, you had Edmund Husserl. He had this really interesting idea about consciousness,
Okay.
that it's not like a static box holding thoughts, but more like a stream, always flowing, always directed towards something.
Towards the music or the problem or the climb.
Exactly. And the phenomenologists who followed him, people like Merleau-Ponty later on, their whole project wasn't about dissecting consciousness like a machine.
Right. They weren't doing experiments in the modern sense.
No, they wanted to describe the lived experience. What does it actually feel like to be aware, to live in time, to pay attention, to act without that constant inner commentary?
Merleau-Ponty.
Mm-hmm.
He had something specific to say about perception, didn't he?
He did. A really powerful idea. He said perception isn't just passively looking at the world from a distance.
It's active.
It's embodied. It's your body acting within the world. Our understanding comes through movement, through interaction.
Okay, like Give me an example.
Think about a potter's hands on the clay. They just know, right?
Yeah. Instinct, almost.
Or tracking a falling leaf with your eyes. Or a skier making those tiny adjustments on a run instinctively, through moving.
And time feels different then, too. Not like clock time.
Exactly. It becomes live time, measured by the rhythm of the action itself. Which ties back to Husserl's ideas about retention and pretension.
Retention and pretension.
Oh, okay, what are those? Retention is like your immediate grasp of what just happened, the echo of the recent past. Pretension is your anticipation of the very next moment.
Right. Usually we feel those as separate things, looking back, looking forward.
But in flow, Husserl suggested they become seamless, fluid, almost indistinguishable. You're not dwelling on the last note or worrying about the next one.
You're just in the unfolding moment.
Utterly absorbed. And that's why it feels timeless, right? It's not that time stops.
It's that the part of you that measures time disappears.
Exactly. The narrator, the self, the ego, it steps back.
And it was left.
A kind of lucid presence. It's vivid, immediate, but strangely impersonal. Like you're watching it happen almost.
And later, science comes along with brain waves and stuff to try and measure this.
Right. Trying to find the objective correlates, but the core experience.
Yeah.
It's not just a brain event, is it?
No, it feels bigger than that.
It's that alignment, body, mind, world, all working together.
And the cool thing is it's not just for geniuses or mystics.
Absolutely not. It can happen making dinner, solving a puzzle, organizing your closet.
Anywhere that challenge meets skill, in that sweet spot.
That seems to be the key condition, that delicate balance. But those questions remain. What exactly opens up?
And what's the trade-off? What does it cost to enter that state?
Yeah. Which brings us neatly to 1975, a really pivotal year for understanding this.
Okay, what happened then?
A psychologist in Chicago, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
The name everyone knows in relation to flow.
Exactly. He was studying what he called optimal experience, and he gave this state the name we use now, flow.
And it wasn't just a theory he came up with.
No, that's what's so interesting. It came directly from interviews, loads of them.
With who?
High-performing people from all walks of life. Surgeons, dancers, chess masters, rock climbers, you name it.
And they all describe something similar.
Over and over again, this feeling of being carried effortlessly, like being in a current, a river. They literally said things like, it just flowed.
Wow. So the name came from the experience itself.
Pretty much. And Csikszentmihalyi's genius was taking that feeling and building a framework around it. He identified the conditions needed for flow.
Right. You mentioned some already. Clear goals.
Clear goals, immediate feedback, that crucial balance between challenge and skill.
And intense focus on the present.
Plus, losing self-consciousness, no room for doubt or worry. Time distortion, it speeds up or slows down.
And that last one, autotelic.
Autotelic experience, meaning the activity is its own reward. You do it for the sheer sake of doing it, not for fame or money or anything external.
And this framework, these conditions,
Yeah.
they've held up over time.
Remarkably well. Decades of research across different cultures, different activities, keep confirming his basic model. It was revolutionary at the time, though.
How so?
It bridged that gap, between the kind of existential, subjective side of psychology and hard empirical science. It gave us a language.
A way to talk about something that felt almost mystical before.
Exactly. And it revealed something kind of counterintuitive about happiness, too.
Which was?
That people often report being happiest not when they're relaxing, but when they're deeply engaged in something challenging. Meaningful struggle, voluntarily chosen.
That makes sense. Passive leisure isn't always fulfilling.
Right. Deep engagement, even effortful engagement, can be much more rewarding.
So cognitive science then built on Csikszentmihalyi's work, looking at the brain.
Precisely. They started correlating the subjective feeling of flow with brain activity patterns, neurotransmitters, attention control mechanism.
And found things like transient hypofrontality.
Yeah, that's a key one. Temporary downregulation, basically a quieting down of parts of the prefrontal cortex.
The part involved in self-reflection. The I am doing this part.
Exactly, especially the medial prefrontal region. It's like the brain's inner narrator takes a break.
Allowing the action to just unfold.
And they also looked closely at attention during flow.
Finding it's like optimally tuned.
Beautifully put. It's selective attention dialed way up. Irrelevant stuff just fades out. Working memory gets streamlined.
But it's not just any intense focus, right? You can be intensely focused and stressed out.
Absolutely. Flow requires effortless attention. That feeling of absorption without straining. And again, that Balance skill meeting challenge. Too easy, you're bored. Too hard, you panic.
Which leads to that idea of the flow channel.
Right, that sweet spot. The zone between anxiety on one side and apathy or boredom on the other, it's a dynamic thing, always shifting as you learn.
It's fascinating. But even with all the science, there's still something irreducible about it, isn't there?
Completely. It's subjective at its core. You can describe the conditions, map the brain activity, but the feeling, you only know it by experiencing it.
And that's the paradox of studying it, right? To analyze it, you have to step outside it.
Exactly. You're trying to pin down something that only truly exists when it's in motion. A real challenge.
So let's talk more about attention. You said it's like the currency of consciousness.
Yeah, and it's strictly limited. We can't just make more of it. That's a fundamental constraint of our brain's limited processing capacity.
We can only consciously handle so much at once.
Right. So flow isn't about suddenly having more attention. It's about using the attention we have incredibly efficiently, optimally.
And how does the brain manage that? Are there different attention systems?
Broadly speaking, yes. There's the bottom-up system, that's your reflexes, a loud noise, a flash of light, it grabs your attention automatically.
All right.
Then there's the top-down system. That's your voluntary focus, choosing to concentrate on something, sticking with it despite distractions.
And flow relies on that top-down system.
Almost entirely, it's about sustained, goal-directed focus.
Which parts of the brain are key for that?
Well, a major hub is the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. It works very closely with the anterior cingulate cortex.
And what does the anterior cingulate do?
It's like the brain's conflict monitor. It detects errors, manages effort. In flow, these areas aren't overloaded. They're just perfectly calibrated. Working hard, yes, but efficiently within their optimal range.
And this connects to working memory, too. That mental workspace.
Directly. Working memory is where we hold and juggle information consciously. And it's tiny. You know the old 7 ± 2 idea?
Yeah, items you can hold in your head.
Recent research suggests it might even be smaller than that for most tasks.
So if a task is too simple?
Your working memory is underused. You get bored, your mind wanders, no flow.
And if it's too hard?
Working memory gets overloaded, boom, stress, anxiety, frustration. Again, no flow.
But in that sweet spot,
yeah,
that narrow window,
that's where the magic happens. Attention sharpens, distractions vanish, cognitive efficiency peaks. Flow isn't no effort. It's effort that feels frictionless, smooth.
like cognitive fluency.
Exactly. Thinking feels smooth, elegant, even though it's demanding. Cognitive load theory supports this. We're most engaged just below our overload threshold.
But it sounds fragile.
Extremely, because it's often sequential, building moment by moment. A single interruption, a notification, a noise, even a stray thought can shatter it.
Which is why multitasking is the enemy of flow.
Absolutely. Multitasking is about dividing attention. Flow is about undivided attention.
And that hits on maybe the modern tragedy, right?
Yeah.
Our brains are wired for this deep focus.
There's the hardware for it.
But our culture, our tech, it's built around constant interruption, notifications, fragmented tasks.
It actively works against the conditions for flow. We're not just distracted. We're being engineered for distraction.
So cultivating flow isn't just about performance anymore.
No, it's becoming a cognitive refuge, an act of resistance almost. Reclaiming control against that attentional entropy, it's vital.
So delving deeper into the brain, you mentioned the default mode network, the DMN.
Right. Studying flow, in a way, is studying the temporary silence of the self. And the DMN is key to that self.
How so?
The DMN is most active when we're mind-wandering, not focused on an external task. It handles self-referential thought, remembering, planning, worrying, daydreaming, evaluating ourselves.
Our inner monologue, the voice of the ego?
That's a good way to put it. It constructs our sense of identity. But when we get deeply involved in a demanding external task,
It quiets down.
it becomes less active, yes.
Yeah.
And another network takes over, the task positive network, or TPN.
Which is active during.
Goal-directed action. Focused attention on the outside world, problem solving, being aware of your surroundings. That's the network neuroscientists see light up during flow.
And they work against each other, DMN and TPN.
There seems to be a mutually inhibitory relationship. When one's up, the other's down, like a seesaw.
So in flow, the TPN is dominant.
Exactly. And because the DMN quiets down, that usual sense of self it constructs, it fades, dissolves temporarily.
Again, not a total shutdown, just a shift in resources.
Precisely. Focus shifts from me to the task. You stop thinking I am doing this and you just do it.
Does that explain the time distortion too?
Very likely. The DMN is involved in remembering the past and projecting into the future. With that less active, your sense of being on a timeline fades. You're just in the present moment.
And the loss of self-consciousness, feeling less judged or worried.
That links back to the medial prefrontal cortex activity, dropping that transient hypofrontality we mentioned. That region is big on self-evaluation, social thoughts.
So the inner critic goes quiet, the planner takes a break.
The constant self-monitoring stops. The I merges with the action.
It's such a paradox, isn't it, in an age obsessed with self-awareness?
Right. Know yourself, track yourself, brand yourself.
Peak experience requires forgetting yourself.
Exactly. The neurobiology of flow isn't about maximizing the self. It's often about less self.
A mind unburdened by identity.
And a body moving freely, intuitively. There's a kind of wisdom in that state.
Okay, beyond the networks, what about the brain chemistry, the neurochemicals involved?
Yes, the chemical soup. Flow feels effortless, but it's underpinned by a very precise neurochemical cascade. Fast-acting, specific, and really consequential for the feel of flow.
And two big players are dopamine and norepinephrine.
They're definitely stars of the show, not the only players, but it's hard to imagine flow happening reliably without them working together.
So dopamine, often called the pleasure chemical, but it's more complicated.
Much more. It's really the molecule of motivation, of salience, what grabs your attention, and driving you towards goals. It spikes before you get the reward, especially if it's novel or challenging.
Okay, and during flow.
We see increased dopamine release in key reward areas, like the ventral tegmental area and nucleus accumbens.
But it doesn't feel like a drug high.
Not usually. It feels more like deep engagement, intrinsic motivation. Effort feels effortless. Curiosity sharpens. You learn faster.
And it helps with focus, too.
Big time. Dopamine helps amplify relevant signals and filter out noise. It tightens that loop between what matters for the task and what you actually perceive. Irrelevant stuff just drops away.
Okay, so that's dopamine. What about norepinephrine? Noradrenaline.
If dopamine draws you in, norepinephrine sharpens your focus, especially under pressure or when the stakes are high.
It's linked to arousal.
Alertness.
Exactly. Produced in the locus coeruleus in the brainstem. It increases vigilance, responsiveness.
Yeah.
Moderate doses create that feeling of relaxed intensity. Alert, sharp, but not stressed.
And it kicks in with challenges. Particularly, when you're right at that edge, using your skills to the max, norepinephrine release hits a sweet spot. Focus locks in, perception heightens, reaction times drop.
That edge of control feeling athletes talk about.
Very likely powered by norepinephrine, but it's a narrow window.
How so?
Too little norepinephrine, your attention drifts. Too much, you tip into anxiety, feeling overwhelmed. Flow gets disrupted.
So flow needs just the right amount. Aroused, but not panicked. Focused, but not tense.
Precisely. It's a delicate chemical balance. And it's not just those two. Flow is a whole neurochemical signature.
What else might be involved?
You might see transient changes in things like anandamide, the bliss molecule linked to creative thinking, maybe even pain reduction.
Okay.
Endorphins, especially with physical exertion, contributing to that feeling of ease or euphoria. And maybe serotonin later on, linked to that post-flow contentment.
Wow. So all these chemicals work together to recalibrate everything. Time, effort, self.
Yeah, they make flow feel productive and deeply meaningful. It's an embodied reward.
And this system probably evolved for a reason, right? Survival.
Almost certainly. Think about hunting, building shelter, fighting threats, making tools. These demanded peak performance under pressure.
So flow is essential.
Maybe one of our most natural biological states, even if we think of it as a luxury today.
You mentioned flow being clarity at the edge of chaos. Let's talk about risk. The free solo climber, the big wave surfer.
Yeah, those extreme examples, they often report incredibly intense flow states. Time warps, focus narrows to a pinpoint, no room for doubt, just pure action.
And it seems like risk itself acts as a catalyst.
It really does seem to. Think evolutionarily again. Risk demanded hyper-efficient brain function.
No time for non-essential thoughts, prioritize action.
Exactly. And release those chemicals, norepinephrine, dopamine to sharpen focus, suppress fear. Flow was survival's OS in a way.
And even if the risk isn't life or death today, the brain still responds powerfully.
It seems a perception of risk, of real consequence, is key. Your actions matter, errors have repercussions. That sharpens the mind.
We talked about the challenge-skill balance being crucial for flow. How does risk affect that?
It tightens the ratio dramatically. Higher stakes, compressed time, bigger costs for mistakes. It forces you right into that optimal zone, often much faster, especially if you already have high skills.
Practiced presence under pressure.
But again, it's a knife edge. push the challenge too far beyond skill, even with risk involved, and you get panic, not flow.
Is there another reason risk induces flow? Something about the self?
Yes, that's a really important point. High consequence situations often just obliterate self-consciousness.
No time to worry about how you look or what others think.
Or even what you think. The inner critic vanishes. Worry dissolves. Action becomes immediate, unmediated, just pure response.
But couldn't that become addictive? Seeking that silence?
That's at the potential shadow side, yes. Especially for people dealing with trauma or high anxiety, flow offers such profound relief from inner noise.
So the line blurs between presence and just escaping yourself through danger.
It can. The relief is real, but if it becomes the only way to feel okay, it can shade into compulsive risk-seeking. Flow itself is amazing, but it's not morally neutral if you're using it to flee.
Let's really zoom in on that extreme edge. Alex Honnold, climbing El Capitan, no ropes.
Yeah, it's almost incomprehensible. Zero margin for error, one slip, and it's over.
Yet he describes it as tranquil, utterly present, time-stretching, thoughts vanishing.
Exactly. No fear, just pure action. That's flow in its absolute rawest form, not a metaphor. It's a neurological reality.
And extreme sports are like natural flow labs because the conditions are just perfect for it.
Often, yes. Crystal clear goal, stay alive, reach the top. Immediate life or death feedback. Insanely high stakes demanding total focus.
Flow isn't optional there, it's essential.
It's the operating system for survival in those moments.
Oh, man.
And the brain responds accordingly. Norepinephrine, dopamine up, stress regulated, prefrontal cortex, and DMN quieted.
Leading to faster reactions, heightened senses, no self-doubt.
Right. And it suggests they're seeking something more than just a thrill. Maybe it's that stillness in the motion, consciousness stripped bare.
And a huge part of that is automaticity, right?
Yeah.
The practiced movements.
Absolutely crucial. Years of training embed those complex patterns deep in procedural memory. The body just knows what to do without conscious thought.
The analytical mind steps aside.
And lets the embodied intelligence take over. The climber isn't thinking place hand here. The move just flows from the rock itself. It's trained intuition.
The brain is predicting, harmonizing sensory input and motor output.
Instantly. Correcting errors before they even register consciously. Like Arne Dietrich said, in flow, we are not thinking about the performance. We are the performance.
But you mentioned fragility and that post-flow hunger.
Yeah, the conditions are so precise. A gust of wind, a moment of doubt can shatter it. And coming back to normal reality afterwards, it can feel dull, noisy.
Leading some to chase that silence again, maybe pushing risks too far.
It's a real possibility. The line between healthy pursuit and compulsion can blur when the state itself provides such profound relief from inner turmoil.
Yet when you ask them why they do it,
The answers are often about freedom, thoughtlessness, becoming one with the activity.
disappearing.
That sense of the I dissolving, what's left is just pure, undivided attention, a rare thing these days.
Okay, let's shift from the mountain face to, say, the writer's desk or the painter's studio.
Right, a different kind of intensity. Imagine that writer, lost in the work for hours, oblivious to time, hunger, the world outside.
The sun goes down, they don't even notice, just the words flowing onto the page.
Were the fingers on the keyboard. No sense of effort, just thought becoming language. Then they finally look up, shocked to see it's dark, they were completely gone.
Absorbed in that inner landscape.
Exactly. So there's definitely a creative flow, just as powerful as athletic flow, maybe less adrenaline, more absorption in the process itself.
The risks are different, too.
Yeah.
Right, more internal.
Yeah. The risk of the vision failing, of not connecting, of the blank canvas winning. But the experience of flow, when it hits.
It sounds remarkably similar. Time distortion.
Merged action and awareness, diminished self, that autotelic quality, doing it for the love of doing it.
Painters say the canvas takes over. Writers feel written by the story.
Common descriptions. The creator becomes a conduit, the impulse flows through them.
And the brain dynamics are similar, too. Dopamine, norepinephrine, quieter prefrontal cortex.
Seems so. The neurochemistry, the attentional focus. But the challenge is internal. Thoughts, ideas, emotions are the medium.
Is there a line between creative flow and just obsession?
It can be very fine, yes. That writer lost in a sentence for hours, the composer refining one bar all day, the filmmaker editing frame by frame, forgetting to eat or sleep.
It's not always romantic inspiration. It's often intense, invisible, solitary labor.
Absolutely. And unlike the athlete getting instant feedback, the creative feedback loop is often much longer, right? Days, weeks, years sometimes.
So why do they keep going back if the reward is so delayed?
For the clarity, I think. for the engagement flow provides. In a fragmented world, the act of sustained creation is its own reward, its own form of resistance. Flow is the engine for that deep work.
So many great works were probably born in flow, but it leaves no trace itself.
Exactly. No timestamp on those hours of focused effort. But we get glimpses from the creators themselves.
Like Virginia Woolf feeling she lost the boundaries of her skin.
Yeah, or Beethoven walking for hours, lost in fugues. Or Francis Bacon painting in a kind of trance, his hand knowing more than his mind.
It sounds like active surrender, demanding yet effortless.
That's a great way to put it. But when it ends, the return can be jarring.
The inner critic wakes up. Doubt rushes back in.
The noise of the world returns. But during flow, no doubt, just the medium, the focus, and a quiet mind listening to its own potential.
There's another side to this, though, isn't there? A flow that's less about joy and more about coping.
Yes, a much darker, more complex form, not sought after, but stumbled into out of necessity. A way to deal with overwhelming pain or trauma.
How does that work?
Survivors sometimes describe this paradoxical immersion. Hyperfocus, heightened senses, but also a blurring of pain, time, identity, all focused on survival action.
That sounds like flow, but under duress.
It can resemble it, yes. Trauma fundamentally reorganizes attention. Threat systems dominate, but sometimes, instead of dissociation, you get this intense hyperfunction.
Can you give examples?
Think of emergency room nurses in a war zone, working with incredible precision amidst chaos. Or survivors of long-term abuse developing complex coping strategies. Even kids in unstable homes becoming hyper-attuned to caregivers' moods.
They describe moments of extreme presence, but detached.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Self-detached, focused outward, flow under duress. Its instrumental mastery is sought for safety, not joy, and the cost afterwards can be huge. Exhaustion, numbness.
And this mechanism can linger, even after the danger is gone.
It can. People might find themselves drawn to high-pressure jobs, intense situations, not for fulfillment, but for that temporary relief flow brings from difficult emotions or memories.
So flow becomes an escape hatch, a coping strategy.
Potentially, yes. The line between mastery and escape, doing and fleeing, gets blurred. The brain mechanisms dopamine, hypofrontality can serve both expansion and avoidance.
The mind doesn't always know why it's seeking flow, just that it provides relief.
It seems that way sometimes,
Yeah.
which is why trauma-informed therapies are exploring this now, by
Oh.
helping people reintegrate flow-like states in safe, controlled ways. Mindful movement, expressive arts, focused breathing.
The goal isn't to stop flow, but change its context. From survival to agency, numbing to meaning.
Precisely. That desire to disappear isn't always pathological. It can be protective. Healing happens when being present is no longer dangerous. Flow can then become a return to wholeness, not an escape from the self.
Okay, let's shift gears dramatically. We've talked about flow's power, but what's happening to our ability to access it, especially with modern technology?
Yeah, this is critical. Focus isn't just fading. You could argue it's being actively engineered away. We hear stats about attention spans dropping.
The goldfish comparison.
Right, whether that exact stat is perfect or not, the feeling is real. Sustained concentration is getting harder everywhere. Work, school, home, leisure.
And it's not just individual failure, it's structural.
Increasingly, that's the argument. We're not just distracted, we are being distracted by design.
The attention economy.
Exactly, where our attention is the product being bought and sold. Platforms often profit most from fragmentation, not deep focus. Every ping, every scroll, every notification.
Is designed to interrupt and redirect,
Often, yes. To hijack attention, it's based on context switching.
which has a cognitive cost, right?
Absolutely. It taxes working memory, messes with dopamine rhythms, creates that brain fog. The design logic is often optimized for addiction, infinite scrolls, variable rewards, autoplay.
And the cost isn't just lost time.
It's lost depth. Think about what flow needs. Uninterrupted time, clear task, quiet mind, agency over attention.
Modern digital life undermines all of those.
Pretty systematically. Push notifications shatter time. Multitasking flattens meaning. Platform algorithms erode our agency. They choose what we see next.
Even leisure becomes performative, about getting likes, not just doing.
And the psychological costs pile up. Anxiety, lower satisfaction, narrowed creativity, reduced capacity for complex thought. It's like cognitive de-skilling.
So finding flow now is almost an act of defiance.
It really is. Reclaiming attention, rebuilding those inner conditions against a system designed to prevent it. It's a huge challenge, but maybe essential. A mind that can't hold still can't really know itself. And the fallout isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just this quiet, cumulative suffering.
Burnout, distraction, disconnection. You see them as symptoms of this erosion of attention, the rarity of flow.
But I think they're deeply connected. It's not just about productivity, it hits our sense of identity.
How so? Scattered attention leads to a fragmented self.
Plausibly, yes. Our sense of self is built on memory, agency, future projection, a narrative. All require sustained attention to weave together.
Without it, the threads fray.
Leading to disorientation, lack of purpose. It shows up in small ways. Can't finish a book. Anxious with unstructured time, compulsively documenting instead of experiencing, that constant mental fatigue from switching tasks.
And meaning gets eroded too. Skimming life instead of dwelling.
Surface living, exactly, because flow is the cognitive engine for deeper thinking, problem solving, innovation, reasoning, reflection.
When that engine stalls, we become shallower.
It seems that way. You see it in education struggles with long-form reading, slow thought. You see it at work, reactive busyness over strategic focus, declining insight. Distraction is like cognitive austerity. It's not harmless.
What about the emotional cost?
Increased anxiety, for sure. That restlessness, that hunger for depth that gets met with more shallow stimulation. Socially, maybe more loneliness despite connection because there's no true presence.
And culturally, a society losing flow.
Maybe loses its gravity. Less capacity for slow moral growth or nuanced perspective, more reaction, performance, forgetting. The true cost isn't doing less, it's becoming less ourselves.
But people are pushing back, right? There's resistance.
Absolutely. In a world built for interruptions, silence is rebellion. Stillness takes courage. People are deliberately cultivating flow again.
Not as escape, but as resistance.
Exactly. Take digital minimalism.
Consciously cutting back on the noise.
Yeah, intentionally reducing online stimuli to create mental space. Using tech deliberately, not letting it use you, it's about cognitive sovereignty.
What kind of practices? Deep work blocks, notification fasting.
All of those, monotasking, digital Sabbaths. The goal is presence, creating environments where flow is possible again.
And parallel to that, there's the rise in mindfulness practices.
Definitely. Meditation, yoga, somatic work, training attention inward.
Quieting the internal noise, getting back into the body.
Laying the groundwork for flow, not by forcing it, but by getting comfortable with silence, with presence. And neuroscience is backing this up.
Showing changes in attention networks, reduced reactivity.
In long-term practitioners, yes. It seems to build resilience, create a more flow-conducive inner state.
And beyond individual practices, there's this slow culture idea.
Yeah, across different fields: food, fashion, design, education. Resisting the speed and surface-level logic of algorithmic life.
It's creative resistance.
I think so. Slow journalism, analog photography, craftsmanship, long-form stories. They all tap into that human craving for depth, continuity, time beyond sheer velocity.
So flow isn't just a nice-to-have peak experience. It's almost a civic value.
You could argue that a society that honors depth becomes more human, more resilient, more capable of meaning. The question is, how do we protect it? Individually and collectively. Maybe cultivating attention is the most fundamental freedom we have left.
It's fascinating how flow, this deeply personal state, has also become a corporate buzzword.
Isn't it? It's moved from personal meaning straight into the strategy documents and the bottom line, optimize for performance.
Which raises the question, what happens when you turn something potentially sacred into an efficiency tool?
That's the crux of it. In the early 2000s, Csikszentmihalyi's work really took off in business circles, but the framing shifted.
From optimal experience to peak output.
Largely, yes, aligning flow with corporate goals. It became something to be engineered, monitored, scaled.
You see it in UX design, minimizing friction, feedback loops, gamification.
Agile workflows, productivity software promising flow modes. And the language changed too.
From inner and poetic to
Economic, bandwidth utilization, cognitive capital, attention management.
So flow goes from being autotelic, its own reward, to being instrumental.
Increasingly, employees are encouraged to get in the zone for the metrics. Work and identity blur.
And the danger is
What?
over-identifying with work. Flow becomes a productivity high.
And its absence feels like failure. It can replace the actual conditions needed for real flow, safety, autonomy, curiosity with just external pressure.
Which leads to that paradox you mentioned earlier.
Right. The more you chase flow for output, the more elusive it becomes. It needs voluntary immersion, not forced urgency or scheduled extraction.
And the pressure to be always on can mimic flow but mask burnout.
Because the neurochemical signatures of flow and stress can overlap, the body doesn't always distinguish between invigorating challenge and draining overextension.
Until it breaks.
Exactly. But thankfully, some organizations are rethinking this, protecting deep work time, limiting interruptions, encouraging digital hygiene, valuing outcomes over just being busy.
That feels like a more ethical approach.
It honors attention and maybe allows work to return to being an act of presence, not just extraction. Flow becomes a compass towards meaning again.
But not all flow is freely chosen, or even beneficial for the person experiencing it. You mentioned surveillance capitalism.
Yeah, this is the really dark side. Flow can be engineered, measured, and monetized. It becomes a harvested resource.
In the experience economy, attention, especially that deep, flow-like attention, is the product.
It's the ultimate product. Tech platforms have become masters at designing apps to maximize time on task, inducing compulsion under the guise of pleasure.
Like Netflix asking, still watching. Or Spotify's endless playlists, TikTok's loops, video game rewards.
All designed to keep you immersed, often bypassing conscious choice. It's extraction, not neutral design.
It's like a dark mirror of flow, using the same mechanism.
Dopamine pathways, feedback loops, challenge skill mimics, but for engagement metrics, not transcendence. Users are kept immersed, not choosing to stay.
Tristan Harris calls it attentional capture. The user's attention is the commodity sold to advertisers.
It's this perverse inversion. The human state of flow becomes a tool for, well, potentially dehumanization through systems designed to be delightful but extractive.
And these systems seem frictionless, but they're constantly harvesting data, learning what keeps us hooked.
Every scroll, every pause, every click feeds the algorithm, creating an increasingly artificial digital flow curated for retention, not meaning.
Which brings up that ethical question. Can engineered flow, designed for someone else's profit, really be flow?
True flow requires agency, intention, meaning. Engineered flow can feel immersive, but it might just be a hollow simulation. We need awareness, autonomy to protect that last quiet frontier of the mind. Our attention is our life.
So this brings us to a fundamental tension. Autonomy versus efficiency. Focus is power, but who controls it and why?
Exactly. The paradox is repurposing voluntary attention for external utility. Flow becomes measurable, marketable.
And the culture reinforces this. Self-improvement through tracking, gamification, quantifying mental states, apps promising flow on demand.
It's a seductive promise, right? Do more, faster, feel better. But the philosophical cost is instrumentalizing our inner lives.
Because true flow arises from free will, not command.
And pursuing it only for productivity shifts the focus. From the joy of the process to the output, from presence to utility, the self becomes a project to be optimized.
There's a danger of making the sacred strategic, outsourcing self-direction to algorithms.
And maybe the deepest risk is self-alienation. If life is fully optimized, where's the room for unmeasured time, purposeless wandering, the very things where flow often thrives?
Presence is existential, not just productive. Efficiency doesn't guarantee meaning.
So the real question isn't just how do we optimize flow, it's how do we honor it as a human right to attention, to time, to undivided experience.
Shifting values from manipulation to intention. Control to trust. Utility to dignity.
That feels like the path forward, because true flow is about becoming more whole in the doing. And that's a choice we make moment by moment.
Let's circle back then to that pianist in Vienna. Thinking about her now.
With this deeper understanding, yeah.
It's not magic, it's this fragile architecture, right? Intention, challenge, skill, meaning, all coming together.
It's a capacity of being, not just a brain trick, a fundamental human capability.
We've traced it everywhere. Ancient rituals, extreme sports, creative obsession, trauma survival, neuroscience labs, corporate strategies.
Seeing both its liberating power and its seductive side, how it can be cultivated and how it can be misused.
And the thread seems to be, flow isn't a luxury, not a bonus state.
Maybe it's our birthright. The mind at its most integrated, most harmonious.
In a world tearing our attention apart, flow offers a way back. To time, to meaning, to ourselves.
A return, yes. And maybe even in those moments, a glimpse of something beyond the individual self.
Because on the other side of that inner chatter, When the voice fades, the timeline bends, the doing becomes knowing.
There's that quiet presence waiting, and maybe it's always been ours.